Have you ever been watching some major IPO go out and you know that there was some folks who had an advantage over you? They've got some kind of an early invitation, a way to buy the stock before the IPO. Well, you might be the one that has the chance this time. The question is, will you get some kind of pre-IPO special treatment from SpaceX if you happen to be a Tesla stock owner? We'll cover that today. Tesla's top pick is a Tesla stock is a top pick again. Another company. Who is it this time? We'll be getting to that in a minute. Why all the fuss about space-based data centers? Somebody else chimes in. Workers are definitely getting ahead. This we know for sure. I'll explain that this morning. And then Tesla is hanging around near the break-even point as the markets are extremely flat, awaiting the Fed. We are going to tell you this morning exactly what the Fed, well, we're going to give you our impressions of what the Fed is going to do today. Elon Musk says this morning. He's replying to Jeff Dean, that is at Jeff Dean, and to C. Manseris, CMANTSERIS. Waymo never really had a chance against Tesla, and this will be obvious in hindsight. Okay, there we go. Barron says this morning. Investors looking for a winning car stock might just have to go with Tesla. And this is according to Deutsche Bank. The analyst name is Edison Yu. On Tuesday, Deutsche Bank released its automotive outlook for the coming year, and Tesla is one of Yu's top picks. Its car business might underperform in 2026 amid easing climate regulations in both the US and Europe and intensifying competition in China, but the forecast is about way more than that. The focus will remain on AI and Tesla's ability to use advanced computing to grow its robotaxi business launched in June and also developing humanoid robots. To the extent that the macro regime doesn't change materially, we think investors will continue to look beyond weakness in the auto business, added Yu. I'm just wondering how come Mr. Yu hasn't figured out that when when unsupervised self-driving comes out, it's going to sell a lot of cars. Tesla stock was up 0.6% in pre-market trading. Yeah, it's not so much anymore. It's really it's been up and down around the break-even. While the S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average were down a little bit, and they're also kind of up and down and around. You rates Tesla stock a buy and has a $407 price target for the stock. Should be this week, early next week. He values the car business at $175 a share, Tesla's stationary power business at $34 a share, the robotaxis at $148 a share, and humanoids at $111 a share. And then he has a $2 value for all the other services and businesses. So you might want to write those down out of the total here. I've been talking about the car business being worth around 200. He says 175. Stationary power business, I think he's way low at $34 a share, but that's what he's got. And robotaxis and robots, not bad, 148, 111. I think that's pretty fair for right now. So now the question is, would you, if you watched last night, and you should have, we'll put the card up in a minute, as Nicholas Gibbs and I talked about the entire, well, in holy mackerel, we covered a lot of stuff. Anyway, he asked the questions whether you would sell some of your Tesla stock in order to buy SpaceX shares when the IPO comes out next year. And I told him, well, I don't know. I don't want to sell any of my Tesla stock. I might have to sell my house. Anyway, Musk has promised, he said it over and over again, this makes a priority IPO access for Tesla shareholders not just possible, but probable. This would likely come via a directed program rewarding loyalty. Monitor SpaceX's S-1 filings as we get closer. This could create a crossover windfall, but diversity and so Always want to be diversifying. That's the old rule, but I don't know. I think when you have a informational arbitrage situation, and most of you who watch this channel will have that informational arbitrage situation with regard to SpaceX, as you have had with regard to Tesla for a very long time. According to Alternate Jones, I think I've quoted him once or twice before, he says, I think Elon knows that by the time the SpaceX IPO actually happens mid next year, or maybe later next year, or maybe in 2027, he doesn't have that. I added that. Tesla will have at least doubled from here, and all Tesla investors will have enough capital to invest in the SpaceX IPO. That's about what I expect. I expect Tesla to be doubled where it is right now next year. So you see, I could just take 20% of those winnings and put them into SpaceX. Patrick O'Shag says this. He says, quoting noted tech investor and all-around brilliant guy Gavin Baker on a fantastic investment. He did all of this on the best, I'm sorry, Invest Like the Best pod last night. The most important thing, this is what Gavin Baker had to say. If you don't know who Gavin Baker is, you should learn. He's amazing. The most important thing in the next 3 to 4 years is data centers in space. In every way, and I heard him say this and he emphasized it in the same way I am, in every way, data centers in space, from a first principles perspective, are superior to data centers on Earth. In space, you can keep a satellite in the sun 24 hours a day. The sun is 30% more intense, which results in 6 times more irradiance than on Earth, so you don't need any batteries. The cooling in these data centers is incredibly complicated. Space cooling is free. You just put a radiator on the dark side of the satellite. The only thing, in fact, Jensen Wang said last week that it would reduce the mass of these chips by 90+% because you don't need all the cooling. The only thing faster than a laser going through a fiber optic cable is a laser going through absolute vacuum. Link the satellites together with lasers and you have a faster and more coherent network than any data center on Earth. So you may have heard Larry Goldberg saying the other day that you would need these giant satellites where the entire data center, rather than just a single chip, would be on the satellite. I've read other options, and I'm not saying Larry's wrong. Believe me, I always listen carefully to what Larry has to say. But I've also read other analyses, and maybe we'll ask Brian Wang about this later today. I believe you could also put up smaller satellites that only have, 1 chip or 4 chips or whatever on each one. And then, like Gavin says, you could put those together with lasers between them, which is super, super fast. I think you might be able to get to the result that way. This is Randy Kirk. It's really, really, really getting close to Christmas. You should, really, really, it's time to buy these. The Postal Service is going to take quite a while to get there. Also, buy the book. We'll talk. I saw a post today. It was talking about this guy who read 7 books or 10 books or 11 books, I forget, on AI over the course of a year and got hired by Google because he was so capable of explaining his knowledge. Let your family have this same opportunity. Start with our book, and they can go on from there. Compensation costs. Did you hit subscribe? I forgot. You need to hit subscribe. Compensation costs, are you ready? Increased 0.8% for civilian workers seasonally adjusted from June 2025 to September 2025. Over the year, total compensation rose 3.5. This is where the president and others in the administration have been saying that since he's taken office, the American worker has gotten about 1% more real income after inflation. Because if all the benefit costs, everything going up is going up 3.5%, the benefits are going up, the regular wages and salaries are going up, total compensation, then you got inflation at between 2.5, that would be according to Trueflation, and 2.8, that's according to the Fed. So if you're at 3.5, you're definitely getting ahead. Now, part of the reason why oil is down, we've been commenting day after day that oil is down. Well, there's a big article in the Wall Street Journal today Part of it has to do with Trump's embargo of Iran and Russia. There are 1.4 billion barrels of oil on the water, and that is 24% higher than the average for this time of year between 2016 and 2024. The data from the oil analytics firm Vortexa measures shipments that are on their way are to be unloaded at a port or cargoes that haven't yet found a buyer. So apparently, sometimes, especially the Russians and the Iranians, will put the stuff out to sea, and then it's called dark cargo. And then somewhere along the line, maybe they find a buyer. The rise of oil and water comes from multiple sources. There's been a 16% year-over-year jump in barrels from mainstream producers. OPEC has been pumping more oil as it unwinds production cuts, and its supply is also increased, and the supply is also increasing from non-OPEC suppliers like Brazil, Guyana, and the United States. So you're getting increases around the world. Now you're getting increased use too, but the amount of production is surging past the use. As I mentioned last night, also when I was talking to Nick Gibbs, OPEC has said, no, they're continuing to increase their production because they believe the US economy is going to explode next year. That's their analysis, at least 3 to 4%. But there has also been a surge from sanctioned producers like Russia and Venezuela. The number of dark barrels in the ocean has jumped 82% in a year, a rapid rise, especially in the last 3 months. Another story comes from Fast Company this morning. Companies around the world are racing to find alternatives by using materials that are more abundant and cheaper to produce domestically. What we're talking about here is rare earth-based magnets. Minneapolis-based Niron Magnetics believes it has found a solution, claiming it can approach key aspects of rare earth magnet performance using humble iron and nitrogen, albeit in an exotic formulation. General Motors, Stellantis, the US government, and others are betting on it. The Chinese put export controls in place on rare earths earlier this year, and then they backed away from that. China currently accounts for about 60% of global rare earth mining, but then 90% of refining, and then it also supplies over 90% of rare earth magnets, according to the US Department of Energy. We want to be able to solve this problem for Western companies as quickly as possible, Roundtree says. That's the Niron guy. When asked if Niron will also only serve the West, he says all these countries outside of China have the same problem. Beyond the US, Niron plans to build one factory somewhere in Europe and another in Asia. It won't be in China. It'll be in Southeast Asia, most likely, according to the CEO. He says they're going to move beyond neodymium. Companies and governments are especially chasing alternatives to one of these rare earth metals, neodymium. It is alloyed with two other metals to make the world's most popular magnet. This iron is a combination of neodymium, iron, and boron is the best permanent magnet going, and no one's really got anywhere close, according to Nicola Morley, professor of materials and physics at the University of Sheffield in England. She has no affiliation with Niron, even with that name. Niron has raised approximately $200 million from private funders and about $100 million from the federal and state tax credits or grants, including from the Department of Energy and Defense, to build its exotic formulation over the past 15 years. The world could finally find out how well Niron's technology works in 2026 when it says the magnets from its pilot facility in Minneapolis will start to appear in home audio speakers. Motors and appliances such as washing machines, clothes dryers, and air conditioners are on schedule to follow in 26 and 27. Niron broke ground on its first full-scale factory in Sartell, Minnesota in September and expects to be churning out 1,500 tons of magnets per year by early to mid-2027. It's considering several states for its next 10,000 ton per year world-scale plant, which its estimates could provide about 20% of U.S. supply in 2029. So this is exciting and interesting. I don't know if these guys are available as a public stock, but worth looking into. That is not investment advice. Okay, according to Grok, this is what the Fed is going to do today. Well, I asked Grok to look at all of the analysts out there, all the articles, and tell me what is the most likely set. What's going to happen today when the Fed announces? All right, so the announcement, of course, is at 2 p.m. Eastern. A 25 basis cut in the base is the base case. Everybody's expecting that, 90% odds. But watch out for the dissents. So expecting two dissents this time, but uh, uh, maybe one again will be Waller saying that he wants it to be 50 basis points, and one will be somebody saying that they don't want any cut at all. The state may adopt a hawkish cut language, noting risks to inflation and a high bar for more moves. This is the important part. This is what, again, Nicholas Gibbs and I talked about last night. This is what you're definitely seeing in the headlines, is they're expecting a hawkish report in the language that's going to come out with the cut. And then when the chairman speaks at 2:30 Eastern time. Powell's press conference will drive volatility, according to Grok. Expect an emphasis on data-dependent policy. Oh, he's never said that before. Not a preset course. A dovish tone, open door for 2026 easing, could boost stocks. This is not going to happen. And now, if it happens, it will. If it happens, it will be a hawkish signal and may strengthen the USD and flatten yields. I think the yields will come down anyway if the 25 basis cut goes through, even with a hawkish tone. Bitcoin, 92,000 currently and holding support. Market impact, short-term relief for borrowers, but a hawkish cut could temper the rally. And then FundStrat's Tom Lee sees contrarian upside for stocks post-decision if priced in fears ease. Brace for swings. Historical data shows strong forward returns when near high pre-cut, but tone matters most. If no cut, oh my goodness, I don't want to think about it. Okay, we've got the POTUS moving back up in the polls, back up to 46% today. That's a kind of what he had been at the low. His range now has been between 43 and 54, 46 still in the lower category of that, but moving up the last few days. Truflation says this morning it has moved back down a little bit, 2.52 on its overnight. It's been in that same range, around 2.5 for several weeks now. Goods are down. They've been way up. They've been down in the 2.0 to 2.4 range, 2.38 this morning. The core, 2.42, that's up a little bit also. Not from yesterday, but compared to recently. Services at 2.74, I mentioned, has been kind of high, but it's coming down a tad. And then PCE at 2.2, that's about where it's been, fluctuating around that number. Okay, so what does this mean? Tesla is now up 0.27. I think this is the high for the day. It is the high for the day, 446.48. Love to see it close above 450. Love to see it get to 456. That would be the goal for the day, 456. The Dow is up 0.27. NASDAQ up down to 0.23, and the S&P up 0.00. The S&P at 6840, still about 1% below its all-time high. Apple, so we've got the Magnificent Seven completely mixed. Every other one is red and green. The VIX is at 1709, still risk on, but headed down, even becoming more risk on. And then we've got the Cathie Woods all down this morning. Because why? Well, I know. Say it in unison now. All right, we've got the bonds. Oh, wait a minute. It's turned around. It was up earlier this morning, but now it's down 1.6 basis points at 4.17. My goal for today would be to end the day at 4.10. It'd be better if it was 3.95, but I'm not betting on that. I'm betting on 4.10. That'll be the goal for the day after the Fed rate cut. Do not use that as investment advice. Oil is at down another 0.38 at 57.87. I think that's about the lowest we've seen it. Natural gas up a little this morning, By the way, 4.59, I did kind of look at the charts over the last year. This is kind of the normal now. We're back to normal for this time of the year. Gold is down 19 at 4217. Silver down about the same percent, down 0.30 at $60.66. I have a gut feeling that silver is going to have to take a haircut. I understand that there's not enough silver. I understand that there's an industrial use. I think it's gone far enough. My gut is silver's going to be, I mean, not tomorrow, not the next day, but over the next month or so, I think we're going to see silver back in with a 550 handle. Copper up 0.7 this morning at 536 again. And we've got the yen up, but the euro down. Okay. Um, let's see. Bitcoin down 1148, 91.9. That's pretty much where it's been for a week. Ethereum down 0.15 this morning at 33.24. It's now doing better, much better than Bitcoin in terms of the recent fluctuations. And there you go. That's everything there is to know that you could possibly want to know about the market today. I expect it to be very flat from now until 11 California time to Eastern time when the announcement will be made that there's a 25 basis point cut. Then you need to buy these and you need to buy books and you need to hit subscribe. And then you need to listen later today because we will have, I think we'll have normal day. I believe so. Jeff Lutz, followed by Brian Wang. Brian Wang is at some conferences today on very high, very technical computer stuff, quantum compute and whatnot. So he's going to break out of that conference, get on a laptop and try to give us updates there, but more just in general, how he's seeing things after the Fed is done with what it's going to do. Okay, and like I said, yes, you definitely, holy mackerel, it's so much fun talking to Nicholas Gibbs each week. We have a part of that show near the end. We talk about how millennials and Gen Z people are bathing in luxuries. They just can't get enough luxury. They love luxuries, and that's what's keeping them from being able to get ahead. I'm sure you'll enjoy that part, but there's so much more. The card will be up right here. That's all. Okay, yeah, I'll go back and just look to see if directionally Tesla is headed back up now, just for fun. Directionally, Tesla is flat. It's down a little bit from where we said, still in the green for now. That's all I got for you right now. It's been great talking to you.